So first of all, I want to thank everyone for joining me today, taking the time out and also being a little patient with some of our technical difficulties. But everything is kind of a work in progress, and speaking of which, we have been running the initial beta, just to give you guys kind of an update on the progress of the development of the Monaco market. We have been taking much of the feedback of the community in terms of, the application itself, usability, how things look, how things feel, and just getting a sense of what it is that we need to do to make sure that, when we launch the Monaco market, it is going to be a really high quality, easy to use, and just, very user friendly experience. So from that, we've taken a lot of the feedback from the community um, to essentially gauge what we need to improve upon. And we've also made a few developments in terms of where we were from the last time that I did the demonstration of the Monaco market. So with that, what I'd like to do is to pass it over to Nick so Nick can kind of show some of the additional screens that haven't been shown yet, most specifically the staking. So the staking on Monaco Market, this is the staking that will essentially award the fees to the individuals that stake into that pool, to get an idea of what the look and the feel of that experience is going to be. Nick?
Absolutely. Great. So give me a second. Let me know if you guys can see the screen okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as Paul essentially kind of highlighted and kind of kicked it off there, we're going to make a really simple and intuitive user experience for anybody to participate in our staking product. So prior to being essentially have your account set up or your wallet logged in, connected, you're going to see the total kind of active live sum amount of the current CLCT staked. And so that's going to be the visible feature at all times. And so once you do set up and get connected, you'll get into our dashboard for staking, which will again highlight the current status of the total staked, as well as how much you've personally staked yourself, in this case, 50,000 collect coins, and the percentile of that total staking pool of, what your percentile of that total staking is, as well as your current earnings. And then you'll be also have the option to continue to deposit more into the staking pool or to practice to withdraw from that pool. So that's our product that we're currently in the process of building out and designing and into development.
At this point, the contract has already been completed. It doesn't look entirely like that right now, but it works and it's functional. So
Absolutely.
in the beta right now, individuals can stake their collect coin. They can do all of these features. It just doesn't look just as nice, but we anticipate this will be ready in just a couple of days. So that part is done. Also, some of the feedback that we got from the community when we were going through the beta was the application itself. It might have needed a little bit of onboarding, and just to give everyone kind of an idea of what is going on here besides just presenting the application. So what we worked on are several screens to kind of create a carousel that complements the application and also directs individuals to learn about what the Monaco market is, to understand where to buy CollectCoin, and even showing some of the value of proposition. So I'd love if Nick, maybe you could show maybe one of those screens with the carousel.
Yeah, so we have. So I think Paul again did a good job of kind of introing that section. So based on some of the feedback that we had, we don't want to have people, whether if they're fairly familiar with our product or completely new customers, I don't know exactly what they're doing once they navigate into the application, have a good starting point. And whether, again, like Paul said, just a high-level introduction of who we are and what we do, how to get our coins set up into your wallet so you can participate and buy and invest, to the value proposition around our vaulting service, which this particular carousel item highlights pretty well. to our authentication process and for other different details. So we're really going to utilize this top banner strip as a really good feature area where you guys will always be updated with what we're doing. Maybe we're also going to potentially introduce some unique partnerships on the vendor side that might be able to promote some of their items as well. So we're going to be pretty creative with how we use this initial top kind of marketing carousel strip.
Absolutely. And, much of this has been, us listening to our community. What we're going to be doing moving forward is we're going to start opening up a second round of beta testing. Once those additional features are completed, we anticipate it's going to probably be in the next few days. So some of the folks that have already signed up to be part of the beta testing, you'll be hearing from us. We've added a couple more folks. We've kind of taken a very measured approach to this because, we want to make sure that the feedback that we're receiving is not too overwhelming. But just to give you guys an idea, after we complete this second round of beta testing, our intention is to have an incentivized open beta where, any CLCT holder will be able to participate. They'll be whitelisted onto the beta site, and then it's all password protected. You'll have the credentials, and then essentially be able to provide us with feedback in terms of usability. Whether it's are we missing something? Is something unclear? Is how what is the look and the feel? Is this kind of does it feel the way that we want it to? We want all kinds of varied feedback when it comes to the application itself, because look,
Right.
we understand that you guys are going to be the users, and it's going to be incredibly important that we are able to provide uh, essentially something that the whole community is has contributed for us to create.
And I
Um,
think also sometimes we want to, there's uncertainty with really what our product really does, our application offers. For example, the vaulting or the option to actually redeem the item, you have it shipped to you. And so we want to be as clear as possible throughout all the different touch points throughout the application, giving you a little bit more context to what you can do and what those opportunities look like. So this will be kind of one initial sort of added on layer strip. We do anticipate building on our marketing side as well, which will really kind of continue to build upon our services and features, and et cetera. But this is sort of our kind of our initial MVP kind of lighter approach to in terms of just that additional communication.
Yes. And while the initial Monaco market will be, sort of more stripped down, our intention is to add additional features. And, speaking of which, one of the things that we've talked about before are some of the incentives that we want to provide to the community. So when we launch the token, one of the things that we're going to be having is a farm on Pancakeswap, where individuals can earn, they can stake their collect coin and they can earn an APY. Full disclosure, you guys may have seen some projects that have 1,000,000% Genesis rate. We're not going to do that. There's no way that we could kind of, sell ourselves in that way, but it's going to be something reasonable. I guarantee you it'll be very competitive against other real projects that have longevity, that are working on something real, that have a real revenue model. And in addition, we're going to be working with Auto Farm for an auto amplified pool. So they're going to be working with us to kind of help us to market it in that way. Because what we have found is the marketing strategy of just doing influencer marketing has, been kind of mixed. And when you can just essentially use some of those funds to directly compensate the community and create something that people want to share, that they want to tell their friends about, tell us other people about, and people will participate and they'll earn some of those rewards. It would be better for us to be giving that to the community and have kind of organic growth versus paying an influencer, $25,000 and hoping that these individuals are able to, kind of deliver a yield that warrants those high fees. So part of what we've been doing recently has been kind of reworking much of our marketing strategy. And we're focusing more on the items, we're focusing more on the sellers, the authentication, and the process therein. Uh, what I'd like to do maybe is for a moment hand it over to Julia to maybe discuss some of our content strategy and the social media things that we're working on, and to give you guys an idea of how we are shifting our in this current climate where influencer marketing is not as effective as it once was. How are we going to separate ourselves from other projects?
Hey guys. Yeah. So thanks for being on this call. I'm really excited to share everything with you. Like Paul said, I think our focus is to, like, our strength is that we have curation. Like, Paul has a lot of expertise in, selling goods in the marketplace, and that's something that we should utilize. So that's kind of what our content is going to be focused on, like curated conversations, maybe Twitter spaces with expert sellers that can kind of help guide buyers as to what kind of products or goods that they should be buying for their portfolio or investing in. So yeah, I mean, we're just going to continue to be active on social media, connecting with the community, giving you guys updates, and just being really informative about, goods that are good investments right now, ones that maybe you shouldn't be investing in at the time, and just, market trends, things that are going on in the industry. I would love to have Twitter spaces with experts and, have conversations based around, maybe talking to a watch seller or an expert watch buyer and what kind of products that they're buying at the moment. I'm also working on getting a blog up on our site, because right now I've been posting a lot of like news type articles, and I think it's great if we create our own content. That way it will drive people back to our site, and we're providing value to, our investors and everyone who's involved in this project. And we're continuing to create video content. So we worked on our second video, and we're in the process of editing it right now. And the idea behind the video content is that it's going to be informative, but it's also going to be entertaining and fun. It will be fun to watch, and it's just a great way to connect with the community. And we actually are sharing our first video today. So thank you for your patience. I know it took a little bit longer than expected, and I don't anticipate future videos taking this long, but this one was more of like an advertisement style type of video. And I will say, from my experience, like as a model and shooting these types of videos and campaigns, that the turnaround is typically 6 months. So I think with the amount of time that we had to create what we made, I think we did a pretty good job. And I'm not trying to just pat ourselves on the back. I'm being, completely honest that usually this stuff takes about 6 months to see the final result. So that's where we're at with the social media strategy and that side of things.
Yeah, and with that, Nick, could you share?
Absolutely.
What I'd like to do is to maybe debut what our the first piece of content that we were having. We have a bunch more coming. We'll be releasing it something else maybe in about a week. I think we'll have something else ready. But for the first video, we essentially shot a commercial, and I'd like to debut it now.
I've been hearing so much about NFTs, but their values are so unstable. Monaco Market is a curated NFT marketplace for tokenized investment-grade collectibles. It's where I can find the hottest and most coveted real-world items and trade them on the blockchain.
As a seller, it's tough to find a marketplace with reasonable fees. Monaco Market charges only 1.5% when I trade with CollectCoin. It allows me to keep more of my earnings and sell to a brand new audience.
As a buyer, I know I'm investing in an authentic product from a trusted seller at a great price and value. I can finally diversify my portfolio with real-world items and even have them sent to me.
Not only are the fees on Monaco Market very low, but I can stake my CollectCoin to receive a portion of the transaction fees.
After purchasing with my CollectCoin, I can decide to keep my items as NFTs or redeem them. It's a way for me to diversify my crypto portfolio with real-world investments. Monaco Market, removing limitations, reimagining e-commerce. To learn more, visit www.monacomarket.co.
So
And
we'll
there we go.
yeah, we'll be that'll be posted. It will be live on our YouTube very shortly. And one of the things we're going to be doing is running YouTube advertisements with that, as well as some shorter form content as well. But one of the reasons why we've kind of changed part of our strategy to that is that when you're doing some of these influencer-based YouTube videos, you're paying between $1 to $5 a view, and you don't know if these views are real. And look, nothing against these influencers, but the reality is what they're charging today when the market is down 30-40% versus December, they're charging multiples, 3, 4, 5 times what they were charging back then, and the yield is significantly lower. So by running at these types of advertisements, we could lower our per view cost over 99%, going from $1 to $5 to literally less than 2 cents a view. So what I anticipate us doing is, spending, a bit of our marketing budget to make sure that we are, you know, creating content like that, making sure that we are running targeted advertisements. In any case, that'll give you guys an idea of some of the new kind of content that we're working on, as well as some of the other content that we have are, founder stories, stories related to the sellers themselves, specific videos curated around the items and the investment value of the items to kind of educate the community about what it is that we're going to be offering and why is it that these are the items that you want to be buying versus just anything. Because the reality is, whether it's a handbag, a watch, a trading card, they're not all created equally. And there are some items that actually make much better investments than others. Even in the watch space, there's some items that have been hyped so much, the values have gone up so high that there is a correction coming for some of these things. But the reality is, for many of the others, because the demand is still so strong, the corrections are not coming, and they're going to continue to increase in value. So, with that said, I'd like to, maybe talk a little bit more about, some of the additional things that we're working on that are part of the roadmap.
I also
And
just wanted to make note about the video. We were trying to simplify what Monaco Market is in like 2 minutes. So that was
yeah,
a little bit of a challenge, because we do have such a broad base of investors. Some people might be new to the space, and some people might have been in it for a couple years. So this video was kind of like an intro video to tell someone what Monaco Market is. I mean, you guys are our biggest supporters. Thank you so much for retweeting everything and being so active on social media. I mean, if you could please share this with all your friends, people who are interested in investing, or someone that you might think might be a good prospect too. This would be a good video to kind of just warm them up to it, and then bring them into the Telegram group, or get them involved somehow. So
absolutely. And with that, there's some other things that we are working on to kind of improve the marketplace itself. For example, a payment gateway so that new buyers can on-ramp with their credit or debit cards and be able to buy the NFTs that we have, as well as an off-ramp for sellers that maybe they don't want all of their funds to be in crypto when they make sales. Maybe they need some of those funds to facilitate their cash velocity and the cash flow of their business. So, we're working on incorporating those things as well. We are talking to a few different providers to understand what would be the most cost-effective measure, because, from the time that we've started those conversations to now, the fees related to them have gone down dramatically. When we started this, there are companies who wanted to charge you $40,000 off the bat just for you to be able to integrate. And now much of those setup fees no longer exist because there are so many more players in the space. So in having conversations with as many folks as possible to make sure that we are, well diversified in who we're talking to, what are the fees, who are the right people to be dealing with, because it's more about the service and just making sure that we can provide something reliable and also something that's useful. Because at the end of the day, we want to be able to offer a marketplace that serves, crypto conscious, crypto, really knowledgeable folks, but also some of these sellers aren't as knowledgeable in the space and they do need fiat. So making sure that we provide those services is going to be very important. Now, additionally, I've spoken in the past about having the lending platform where individuals can stake their NFTs and then be able to borrow against those NFTs to access that liquidity, to, borrow at a reasonable rate, something that is competitive to the market that exists as at right now in terms of collateralized lending, but also to provide more value for CollectCoin. Much like some other platforms out there, what our intention is when an individual borrows, or rather stakes their NFT to borrow from that liquidity, you know, when they pay back when they make it's essentially going to be a balloon payment. When they make the payment back, the interest can be paid with CollectCoin, and there will be an incentive. Very likely, it's going to be half of what the accrued interest would have been if they were to just pay with the stablecoin. It'll be maybe half of that with CollectCoin. And in doing so, we're trying to create as much value as we can, as much utility as we can for CollectCoin, so that there is a demand, that there is individuals trading, that there's actually volume. And look, we have very minimal risk because realistically, the loan to value ratios are probably going to be about half. That way, people don't have to worry about liquidation. The kinds of items we're offering should not be correcting 50%. So that's not something where you have to worry about with, maybe if you took some tokens and you put it in Nexo and then the market corrects 30% and then you have to worry about starting to get liquidated, that likely won't be the case with us. However, if someone doesn't pay back their loan, then you're going to lose your NFT and we're going to have to sell that and liquidate it in order to recoup those funds. So we're doing everything we can to provide value to our community, but also we need to make sure that we protect ourselves as a company. And with that, now, probably the thing that most everybody asks all the time, when launch? And with that said, one of the things that we've discussed is, we're adjusting this marketing strategy. We're going to be implementing some of these new techniques. We're not giving up on the influencer marketing or the call groups or something like that, but we're just trying to be more selective because unfortunately, much of our most recent campaigns have been not yielding, not yielding a multiple, sometimes not even yielding what we're spending, and as a consequence, we've had to kind of adjust and even consider what options can we do in order to kind of move things forward. So what we'd like to do is we're going to have a poll. The poll will take place in Telegram because Telegram is so active, but also on Twitter. We'll pin the poll there to kind of give some options to the community about what it is that we're going to do moving forward. What launch strategies can we do? Because we have raised a significant amount of money, but it's starting to feel like when we spend $100, we're not getting $100 back. And given the market conditions, we're considering other alternatives, such as potentially launching with, less than 100% liquidity, but a very, very significant amount and maybe rolling more in over time. This would get the token launched, and then it would allow us to more focus on the Monaco market itself, whether that's the items, that's the onboarding of the sellers, that's the business development conversations versus constantly talking to influencers and marketing people, launching a campaign, not getting the
yeah, exactly, and not getting the return that I think we were all hoping for. So
yeah. So, what we're going to do is we'll probably run this poll for about a week and just ask the community what it is that you guys would like to do, because we are getting ever closer to the launch of the marketplace. And as time progresses, it's going to be more important than ever for us to be focusing on the use case of CollectCoin, the Monaco market, and making sure that we're building a robust platform for individuals to be able to trade. Because, look, the reality is there are other people that are entering the space. I still contend that we are far ahead of other people, whether it's the fact that you can stake and receive some of those fees. No one else is doing that. The fact that we have a very low fee structure, the fact that we're trying to onboard sellers and increase adoption of crypto and meld the real world items to, NFTs, whereas some other projects are just some of them are trying to create exclusive clubs where only a select amount of people can shop. For us, it's about building a manageable but ultimately very large marketplace where we're going to have a lot of items, we're going to have a lot of sellers, and we're going to really focus on the curation component, but also make sure that we're generating volume, because I think that's going to be very, very important for us to make sure that we are generating fees as well as additional revenue streams. For example, being able to purchase certain items that we know there will be a margin baked in. For example, many of these items, if you can buy these items at retail, you've already won. You've already made money because the market rate is significantly higher than what the retail price is. And, given some of the connections that we have, I do believe that we can probably procure quite a bit of those items. And it's not going to be just a 0.5% fee that's going to facilitate the Monaco market. That's often a question that's asked. How can we survive with that? The items that I'm talking about, we can possibly have a gross margin of somewhere between 50 to 20% on, a 30-day sales cycle. And additionally, we're working on some gamification strategies for the marketplace itself, so that individuals are buying and selling. They're trading. They're not just buying something, listing it for 5 times what they paid, and just using us for the purpose of storage. So there are a number of strategies that we're working on to make sure that people are trading, that there's actual activity that's happening on this marketplace beyond just the first sale. Because I contend that most of the items that we offer will be sold, one time. But can it be sold 2, 3, 4, 5 times? We'll be trading hands like that. Can we generate a significant amount of fees from that one item because individuals want to speculate and because the market is trending up? Despite the fact that the stock market is down, the crypto markets are down, there's war in Ukraine, Shanghai is locked down. All of these market conditions are dramatically impacting the markets at large. But I do think there is still a tremendous opportunity for people to be able to diversify their portfolios into the items that we're offering, access that liquidity, and potentially continue to trade while they participate in the upside of the items. So, in these are the kinds of things that I think will move us forward. So, I guess with that, if there's nothing else that Nick or Julia would like to add, I'd love to potentially open this up for questions from the community. If anyone wants to raise their hand or ask a specific question, I'd love to, hear from you guys. Is there anything specific that you guys would like to hear about? Okay. I don't know if I muted
Is
everyone.
Saram trying to?
Yeah, I
Yes.
see that. There we go.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah. Hi, Paul. Hi, Nick.
How are you doing,
hey.
Saram?
I'm fine. Am I audible? Am I clear?
Yes, very much so.
Awesome, awesome. So, so again, nice to talk to you, Paul. It's been some
Sure.
time. But
Yes.
yeah, for all the replies that you give, sometimes you take time, but you do reply. Thanks for that.
I
So,
probably had like over 400 on, I think I did about 150 messages this morning, and I still probably have over 400. It's a lot. I promise you guys, I really try to answer, but it's tough.
yeah.
But please tell me what your question is.
So Paul, you talked about on-ramp and off-ramp for fiat purchases and sales. So, in that case, how do you guys plan to charge the fee in CollectCoin? I mean,
Well, if someone if someone's on ramping or off ramping, again, so much of this marketplace is focused around it being a low fee model, and look, the reality is much of this is us aggregating data to understand some of these costs. I understand a lot of these costs because I've been working in these industries in the past. But for example, the off ramp, we're talking to one off ramp right now that is offering 1.5% is what would be charged to the seller. None of that that's a third party fee. So we're working with, other partners to be able to facilitate these services. In that instance, like the off ramp will be 1.5%, where if you're buying with your credit card or debit card, more likely debit card, the fees are much higher. I mean, realistically, in my conversations, we're talking about 4.5 to 6.5% all in order to swipe your card, and that would be the premium that we would pay in order to on ramp onto our marketplace. The third parties would be handling any KYC if it's necessary. And what we're focusing on is making sure that we're dealing with a payment gateway that can facilitate as many people as possible, because there are some of them that only kind of deal with Europe and maybe parts of Asia. There are some new ones that we're talking to that deal with many states in America. And, from much of the initial data that I'm getting, some data that I'm getting from other marketplaces that have launched in the past, it feels like in terms of redemption, the US, Europe, those may be the markets that may want to redeem the most. And FYI, in addition to those fees, there is a fee related to redemption. Because the one thing that you have to understand is when something comes out of the marketplace, it costs something to put it back into the marketplace. We've been talking to some of the authentication partners that work with companies like StockX and Poshmark, to understand what do they charge. What kind of a deal can I strike with some of these third-party authenticators so we can do bulk authentication, so that we're not paying, let's say, $20, $50 for a single authentication. And the truth is, I know how they do this stuff, and I know that at scale they can afford what kind of pricing they can afford. Now, don't get me wrong, in different verticals it costs different amounts of money. A handbag authentication is different than maybe a watch, and then when it comes to the trading cards, nothing is naked. It's all going to be through, it's all going to be graded PSA, Beckett. So those fees, they have to be built into the redemption process, because when you're taking it out of the ecosystem, we have to replace that. And even though we're not just going to be waiting for items to be redeemed to add things, it needs to be recognized that when something is taken out of the ecosystem, the total amount of items that can be traded is smaller, the total potential volume gets smaller. So we need to be able to replenish, to make sure that we do have a significant amount of items. When we launched a marketplace, realistically, we could launch with 10,000 items, but I do feel that launching with so many items may be it may become a little unmanageable initially. So our initial strategy is going to be, releasing more items every week, ultimately maybe every day in different verticals, different collections with different sellers, because there will never be one vertical, one category where it's just one seller. There needs to be competition. Competition in the market is going to drive the prices to the real market prices. And that's going to be important, because you can't have something that's selling in the real world, let's say $500, and then on Monaco Market it's $1,500. What's the point of that? We have to be realistic in the sense that these items need to be at market rate. So, to go back to your question in terms of the fees that are going to be split amongst the staking pool will be those transaction fees. And then again, as time, we also will be having that when we launch the farm, to kind of pay an APY to reward those individuals that have stuck by us, and just give, to reward you for continuing to stick by us while we continue to build out the marketplace. But again, we have made tremendous progress. I anticipate, in the next week or so, I'll probably do another demo, an even more expansive demo, showing more developments, and you guys can compare from the last demo that I did, I believe I think it was like late March, to now, what all the changes are, including the staking, including the onboarding. You'll see that we are pretty far along. And even though there still has to be auditing of the market contracts, the staking contracts, penetration testing of the marketplace so that we aren't hacked or people aren't trying to DDoS the site, or look for exploits to, I don't know, harm us in some way, that would be a very important part of what we're working on. I know I said a lot just now. I hope I answered your question. If I didn't,
another little one. Go ahead.
Yeah. But my question was like, if someone is paying in fiat, how do you convert it into collect coin and
Oh,
pay
yeah.
the people?
So the payment gateway takes care of that. The they charge the buyer their card, and then they
Mhm,
source the collect coin from the DEX.
mhm.
That's how
Okay.
there's that's how it's funded, you
So
know. So
Monaco Market ultimately receives it in collect coin, receives
yes.
the fee in collect coin.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes. So
Right.
that's one big qualifier with any payment gateway that we're working with is you have to be able to buy collect coin. You know, if it's just buying BUSD or BNB, there's tons of options, you know, that already exist out there. By the same merit, we are talking to, you know, some primary partners that could potentially build a product for us. But what we have
Mm,
found is some of the folks that are already doing this charge a very competitive rate where we don't have to necessarily build this out ourselves and we can
mm,
leverage so much of what they've already done for a very equitable fee. Because, you know, the truth is, if you look at on ramps, you know, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5% is not unreasonable. And off ramping for 1.5%, just like that, is actually pretty fair. And considering that we have a very low fee structure as it is, you know, 1.5% is not that bad because what's the alternative? You'd have to get your collect coin, you go to DEX, you transfer it to BUSD. Let's say you want to do that, then you have to transfer it to, let's say, your exchange, then you off ramp from there, you're going to end up paying about those fees anyway. So to make it simple, that's going to be something that's very important. And again, we want to integrate those things into directly into our website. On that video that we showed earlier, a lot of those screens are exactly what the Monaco market is going to look like. That's our app. You know, we've made our own
mm,
wallets. You know, everything so far has been technology that we have built ourselves.
And
We're not using third parties for anything so far. The design is all original. Nick is doing, you know, has made all of that. And it's something where we pride ourselves in that. But by the same merit, for the purposes of scale, if you find the right partner that can deliver something in a cost-effective measure, it just makes sense to work with them.
mhm.
yes.
And another thing, effort real quick, is the mobile stuff. We've been really trying to make sure that the user experience on mobile is just as high, just as important, and you know, executed successfully, being able to navigate, being able to actually buy an item, all these different experiences. So that's part of, just so you guys know, what we've been doing in the background is, you know, it's kind of like developing two apps in a way, one for desktop, but then also the mobile stuff, because we know that the truth is most people are on their phones when they're looking at NFTs, or you know, specific to this type of stuff. So
Got it. So Paul, like, let's say we launch the MVP with around 500 products, maybe
Mm-hmm.
just a random number. So
Mm-hmm.
something like say 500 products or 1,000 products sounds big, but the kind of market that you guys are targeting, that might get sold out in a day or two. That is definitely a possibility. I mean, sometimes that can happen.
Of
So
course.
once that happens, then what happens? Like, does the trading stop on the Monaco market, or?
No, of course not. So, you know, one of the things that we've really focused on is dialing in the sellers themselves. You know, when a seller sells that initial item, they're going to want to add more things, you know. So our expectation is, you know, the sellers themselves will curate collections to continually add items. Now, remember, when something is sold the first time, I I'm not sure what the actual redemption rate is going to look like because I think initially it's going to be fairly high. And I think over
Mm,
time, as people kind of have what they want, it's going to be more about speculation. It's more going to be about trading. And for some people, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for them to receive some of these items because of
yes.
VAT, because of shipping, because of duties. You know, these things almost like kind of inhibit your ability to trade. So I would say that we're going to constantly be adding more items. One, because the sellers themselves, they want to make sales, you know, where that's one of
No,
the
no.
things that we
My question was, is there a possibility that you run out of items to sell because there is so much demand?
I don't
Can
think so. I
something
mean,
of that sort happen?
we're working with a lot of sellers, and these sellers have a lot of items, you know. And also, one of the things that we talk to them about is, like, for example, with the watch space, if you're selling something kind of standard, like a Rolex Submariner, that is a pretty good investment, we're not just going to have one. And if one sells, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. And remember, as long as it's not redeemed, it's still in the ecosystem. Now, someone can elect to just hold it. But I mentioned before about that gamification where, maybe we'll reward individuals for a short period of time for vaulting or having their items in the ecosystem. But if your item is not up for sale and just in your wallet, then it might cost you something because there are real costs in the real world related to storage, insurance, and things like that. And it's not always going to be free. That like everything has to essentially pay for itself because this is a real business. As much as this is like a crypto project and there are DeFi elements to this, it is still very much a real business that's dealing with real world items.
True, true. So Paul, can you talk a little bit more about two aspects? Like one is, will there be auctions on Monaco Market, and the other one is fractionalization, which you have spoken in the past, but you did not follow it up with any update later on. So is fractionalization still on the cards?
Of course, absolutely. So in the MVP, fractionalization will not, exist because I think largely many people that will be trading on the platform initially will probably be redeeming their items, and that's kind of another reason why we have a temperate approach. Instead of dealing with 10,000 items off the bat, it'll be a smaller number, but the items themselves will be highly desirable. So we definitely will move into fractionalization as we add on additional features. One, and then two, you asked about
Auctions.
the auctions.
The
Yeah,
auction.
so auctions will come ultimately, but I'll tell you from experience, most transactions in these spaces tend to happen from the seller establishing a price and then you being able to submit an offer and then you essentially negotiate back and forth. I think that is going to be a source of more sales than auctions because auctions, unfortunately, they're harmed by the fact that you're only pitching to people during a small segment of time, and the people that see it during that time, oftentimes sellers are not the ones to benefit. But Monaco Market will definitely be when we launch the auctions. Will be, maybe we'll have some special items, and we'll make sure that these are some attractive things that people want, generate some excitement around it. And yeah, auctions are absolutely still on the table. And so is fractionalization, but that's probably going to come later this year. There are, some other platforms that are doing fractionalization, but, I'm always deeply suspicious of some of those platforms because when 5 people own something, nobody ever gets out of it,
Yeah.
then it becomes this like trust game. Like, do they really still have it? You see what's happening with Tether. But I'll tell you what, with the Monaco Market, if you own the NFT and you hit redeem and, you want it sent to you, we better have it, and we will have it.
And the other disadvantage of fractionalization is the option to opt in to redeem the item is much longer, or to be able to literally have a return or make money off that investment oftentimes is a longer period that you have to wait for.
Yeah, especially for some of these items.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And is like going cross chain and going to other blockchains is still on the cards, or?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, before, when we started this project, our intention was for it to be on, Ethereum. But just the gas fees last summer were just so crazy that it just made more sense to build more cheaply on the Binance Smart Chain. We will not always be on this chain. There are other low cost chains, Polygon, or hopefully at some point, the gas will be more manageable. But the way the process works with the Monaco Market is the seller submits a form, kind of how like I put in that video. The seller submits a form, submits the item, sends us the item, and then we are the ones that essentially approve, and then we mint. So in order to not have these crazy minting fees for everything, being on the Binance Smart Chain, paying 25, 30, 40 cents to mint an NFT, it just makes a lot more sense. To that token, our intention is ultimately, maybe to have a bridge to Ethereum. There is so much more liquidity that exists there. I've seen, some new projects that aim to do something similar to what we're doing on Ethereum, being able to raise a significant amount of capital, but we've been focusing on the product, and the chain that we're on, there are bridges. It's not terribly difficult in order to do that. And look, in the community, someone, the Sice VezQ was talking about how talking to other projects and seeing what they're doing. That's kind of how, we've been learning about some of these strategies as well. I'm part of some networking groups with other founders, and I discuss with them strategies, how they plan on kind of scaling out their models. And the reality is some of these projects don't have any kind of a revenue model. They're just trying to create value through adding features to their tokens and adding accessibility. But with us, I take those conversations and I try to understand what is applicable to what we're doing and what can we do to make sure that we're adding value in a real way to CollectCoin. And yeah, to that point, I definitely think that doing some Twitter Spaces, doing some AMAs with other projects that are working with like other real world uses for NFTs. For example, I know the founder of a project that's trying to do real estate with NFTs in Central America. I've discussed with him how they're doing this, what kind of regulations are necessary. And then sometimes I even assist other folks because, we are, registered in the British Virgin Islands. We are a real business, whereas there's some projects that are just kind of floating in space or something. I don't know. And
something like that, yeah.
I try to advise them also to say, like, you have to turn this into something real because, like, the sellers don't want to deal with something that doesn't exist. You think sellers would send us their items if we were in a real business? Of course not. They have to know that when they're sending us their items, that they're not just going to get ripped off. And that's important. As much as we try to instill confidence and safety and security in the community, it's also with the sellers because they're the ones putting up these items. They're the ones that are, trying to make these sales, and their items are valuable and they want to, sell them and receive money and not just get, things taken from them, unfortunately.
Yeah. Paul, like all these repeated delays with the launch of the coin itself have been like creating some trust issues of late. So how do you plan to like overcome all that negativity as of those issues?
I think that largely one, we're gonna have this poll where we're gonna present the option of launching sooner, because I think one of the things that I've discovered is that because of some of the hangups that we've had in the past, the hack, some of these delays, we have some large, funding partners that want to see. Really, they want to see the marketplace launch. They want to see what kind of throughput can we do, what kind of items we're going to have, what does it look like, what does it feel like. We've shared some of those details with these folks, and I think that when it comes to our ability to scale, it's going to be about maybe getting some of that VC money, and I have been in conversations with a few of them, but at this point, right now, in the stage that we're in, I think that we're kind of in this holding pattern where VCs are hesitant to invest at this time because of what's happened in the past. But I think we can overcome that by showing what we've done, what we've worked on, and the fact that we are largely, I think, well ahead of our competitors in terms of what we've built, how it looks, how it feels, how it functions. StockX is an example. They released a product where you can buy NFTs that are vault NFTs. Unfortunately, none of it is on chain. You can't buy with crypto. You don't ever get an NFT in your own wallet. There is no wallet. It's just like their interface, just like their own.
Paul, I can tell you from my own experience that right now it's a very good time to launch Monaco Market because when the traditional markets are down, generally the value of things like art and collectibles goes up. So
Yeah,
generally,
and
spot on.
we want to launch the Monaco Market as soon as possible, but it's very important that the launch strategy is done properly, including making sure that all the security is done. There's still going to be additional testing, and then the penetration testing and the auditing is still something that we have to do. We are getting ever closer to the completion of the marketplace, but these audits and these security measures still need to happen because there cannot be any more mishaps. What has happened in the past has happened, but we have to do everything we can to make sure that nothing like that happens again.
Yes. And Paul, one question related to fundraising, which is like, there are some projects which are to raise like millions of dollars even without any MVP or anything to show for it.
I know.
From the VCs and all. So did you try the VC route and
honestly,
problems?
Absolutely. So, I think that in our circumstance is a little bit different than some of these other ones. Some of these projects, they create a roadmap, they sell the roadmap, and they're able to raise funds based on this dream of what can they accomplish. Unfortunately, because of some of the fact that we did experience a hack, that was a bit of a setback, and it does give them some pause. So that's why for us, we need to literally deliver on our promises to show that, hey, we've been able to do this so far, and then you show if you invest X amount of dollars, we can do this. So it's more like traditional VC, fundraising.
That model, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And between our network, we're not concerned about tapping into the VC, kind of that whole side. I think it's just like Paul's saying, we need to first kind of get through this process to launch the Monaco Market, show proof in the pudding through our launch, and then that's when we can start to have those more realistic conversations.
Got it. And one last question on a personal note, as you might have seen on the Telegram group, many people lost their cool many times, and even I lost my cool 1 or 2 times. How do you guys manage to keep your calm and address everyone's concerns? And
it's a very empathetic question. We appreciate that.
Yeah, because I am an entrepreneur myself, and I know the kind of stresses an entrepreneur faces and all. And despite being an entrepreneur myself, even I lost my cool once. So I was really curious to learn from you guys. How do you manage to keep your cool and respond to everyone in a calm way?
The truth is, part of this has been, sometimes when things are getting really hairy in the Telegram, it's like trying to have tunnel vision. I pop in and out of the Telegram when I'm not on a call. And to be honest with you, sometimes I'm on a call and I start typing, and then people start asking me questions, and I'm on a call and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? So how do we manage it? I mean, honestly, it really is just keeping the focus, understanding that we are really trying to build this, that this is not some big hype campaign. We're actually building this marketplace. We have real sellers, we have real authentication partners, a real business process. Nick and I have built marketplaces in the past. Nick has worked on financial platforms in the past. This is not something new to us. So we know that we're capable of doing it, based on experience. And a lot of it is, look, the stress comes, we internalize it. There are a few more grays in my beard than there were when we started this, unfortunately. But you keep working because we believe in what we're working on, truly. This could have been something that we gave up on. Look, other projects, they get hacked and the founders walk away. We didn't walk away. We leaned in.
Yes.
We took the beatings. We continue to take the beatings from the community. And everyone is entitled to their opinion. That's why, look, unless someone is literally being abusive, which we're trying so hard not to be, banning people, but sometimes people get so crazy, and that's also something, is that the moderators can, we're trying to be amenable to everyone, and people DM me and say, hey, can you unban me? And we do unban people. It's just that sometimes things get really wildly out of control, and it's so difficult at times because we're working, all day. I go to sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning. I wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm working a lot. We're all working a lot. It's not for a lack of effort. I say that a lot. It's because, so when people say this stuff, sometimes it gives me resolve. Okay, you feel that way? All right, I'll show you.
Prove you're wrong.
Damn right.
But Paul, I can say one thing. I mean, most people neither doubt whether you're genuine or not, or most people don't have any doubts about the marketplace itself. Most people are just going crazy because of the delay in launch of V2 coin.
Which again, this is the reason why one of the things that we're talking about is potentially launching it with, we've raised a significant amount of capital already. I mean, we don't have 100%, but we have a lot. And, to assess what is an appropriate launch strategy to get this token launched, because I feel like that's what we're talking about more than anything. It's not about Monaco Market. It's not about the items. It's not about, any of the other features. We want to have an advertising platform where sellers can get priority in that carousel that Nick is talking about. Being able to have sellers to pay a little bit of money, so we drive the
similar to what Amazon does. Yeah, similar to what Amazon does. Yeah,
exactly. There's these models, they exist already and it's just about building it on chain, and much of this has not happened in the past. You have these giant marketplaces like OpenSea. People ask, oh, what's the difference between you and OpenSea? Well, look, they offer everything, but it's much more manageable. If we were just doing digital assets, this would be done already, but when you have to work on the redemption flow, understand that, incorporate, shipping tools. We're partnering with GoShippo in order to provide the shipping labels, making sure that we understand which countries we can ship to, what are the rules they're in. There's a lot of extra things that other projects don't deal with. Yeah, of course. The third party. And so one of the other things that we're going to be doing, I'm hoping to do this coming week. So we're going to be doing this poll all along the way. I'm going to start releasing some of these partnerships, who our authentication partners are for the different spaces. I've mentioned in the past, PSA and Beckett are going to be the ones for the trading cards because they're the industry leaders. But then who are the ones that are going to be doing third-party authentication of watches, of handbags, of some of the, the entertainment memorabilia, some of the pop culture items? Who is it? Even in the art space, which that's probably the most tricky space, because look, every dealer on this planet thinks that their piece is worth so much, and that's something that we have to kind of deal with. But releasing some news, releasing some of that news so that people understand that, like, look, we are working. It's May. It has been tough. I'll admit, I've had some moments where I'm like, oh my God, this is not easy. And it's not meant to be easy. But sometimes it feels really hard, and the community is like a little rough with us. But that's okay. If anything, it's made us have really thick skin, and I think that's something really important for us to have now, and to because it'll carry us pretty far, And I think that that's going to be very important. So, with that though, Sairam, you've asked a bunch of questions, and I don't know if there's someone else in this chat that probably wants to also ask some questions.
Sure, definitely. Yeah.
I have also been looking at the text chat. You guys have made some suggestions. I'm gonna make sure that our moderators are aggregating those suggestions so that we have like an outreach team that kind of initially reaches out to these folks, and then I always talk to everybody, like that's very important to me. Like, I want to know who it is, what are they doing. I want you to explain it to me so I understand, so I can explain it to everybody else if necessary. And I think that the more suggestions you guys have, the better, because look, you have guys that want to charge, for, like, let's say YouTube 25 grand, and they're getting 5,000 views, and they're talking mostly about SHIB. Like, some of these things are not right.
Some of these views, we don't even know if they're real, and so these are, it's very expensive to do this marketing. That's what Paul highlighted earlier in our call here today, is that we're trying to be super mindful moving forward. So
absolutely. And look, like, for example, with the YouTube advertisement or digital marketing campaigns, for a fraction of some of these influencer campaigns, you can literally get 1 million views, so I'd rather take a shot with targeted advertisements to try to get 2 million eyes, than to try to go about having an influencer essentially shill the project, and sometimes it's the people that you're getting. You get people that are just looking to flip the token without any care or consideration of the project, and I feel like that's part of the issue right now, is the loudest voices in the room are the folks that just want us to launch the token so they can sell. They don't care about anything. And that's been a lot of what we've been trying to kind of like not ignore, but not prioritize, because we're trying to build something with longevity. And just launching a token and just seeing whatever happens, that's not a great strategy. We need to have something where we show a roadmap that is executable. What have we already achieved? And I genuinely do believe that we have achieved a lot so far, but we still have a lot left to go. And, in this next 6 months, 1 year, you're going to see dramatic, obviously a launch of the marketplace and dramatic improvements of that marketplace, and we do intend to build a marketplace with multi-million-dollar revenues. Nick and I have done it before, and we will do it again. So with that, Sairam, thank you so much for your questions. It is 3:10. This was supposed to go on for an hour, but for just a few more minutes, if anybody has any other questions, please let me know. And in terms of the project collaboration, I saw that the size best queue. If you have specific projects that you like, please let me know. I'm in one networking group for projects that have been audited by CertIC, and I've met some really interesting folks, and that's how I found some of our payment gateway folks. And I've also helped to connect people with some of the things that we've learned. Because at the end of the day, this is really about moving crypto forward. It's not about just being the only one in the room that's succeeding, because I do think that we can work together, we can work collaboratively, and we can achieve something really meaningful.
Are there any other questions before we?
So Wayne asked about if we would be able to do commodities like gold and silver. That's an excellent question. So what we're talking about so far, so we have like a rare currency guy that we're dealing with that has like a statue made of like 1,000 grams of silver. Like essentially, we haven't talked to anybody specifically to like commoditize, let's say, an ounce of gold. But we have talked to people that have items that maybe there's some significance, and it happens to be made of a precious metal. Also, I am looking at how do you skirt that line in terms of like creating an actual commodity and potentially having, things like the SEC asking about this. But also, we want to differentiate ourselves. And there are other platforms online that you can just straight up buy gold with crypto. I was looking at something 2 days ago where they literally have a token that is backed by gold. And I mean, you can't redeem it, or at least that project you couldn't. So that's another thing, making sure that we have reliable sources for these things, because every single NFT on this platform has to be redeemable. That's table stakes, and in terms of making sure that we have original content. So that video that we showed earlier, that will be on the YouTube, and then within the next week we're actually working on 2 more pieces. One is a founder's interview about me, where Julia interviewed me about some of the aspects about CollectCoin. And then we actually went out into New York City and we talked to some folks about NFTs, talked to them about real world items, talked to them about the meld of that, and to try to create some fun, interesting content that's more shareable. Because I think that is probably going to yield more eyes than paying an influencer to shill the project, and then you don't really know what the yield is going to be, and the truth is, some of these guys, they're charging based on view. Some of them are charging based on subscribers, and I promise you some of those subscribers are fake. You know, if you can go on Social Blade and look and see, oh my God, this person got 200 exact subscribers every single day. I wonder how they managed to have exactly 200 subscribers every single day. You know, it's so obvious. And that's why we're not working with some folks, you know. There are some real people out there, but I think that some of that marketing could be better spent on the actual marketplace versus just shilling the token, shilling a pre-sale that's going to do a launch. Um, really establishing the value so that there is that FOMO, there is that sense of like, oh, like anticipation. I can't wait to see what they do. And that's why we try to reveal things incrementally. Because also, look, we do know that there are competitors that are coming after us and they're going to be mimicking so much of what we are, what we're doing. And I think our execution is going to.
We're seeing that actually a little bit already.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And somebody asked about their tokens. If you bought in the pre-sale last year, if you withdrew your tokens, they'll be airdropped to you. And if you didn't, they will be in your time-locked wallet when we launch. So, I guess if anyone else has any other questions, okay. So, in terms of the staking the staking, the Pancakeswap pool, the Pancakeswap farm will be available pretty much right after we launch. The auto amplified farm farm will be available. It might take a couple weeks after we launch. So I've already spoken to Luke over at Auto Farm. They love what we're doing. I have a good relationship with him, and I think that we'll be able to kind of get that going pretty quickly. But again, those types of incentives, I would much rather spend to get the community excited about what we're doing than just lining the pockets of an influencer that could care less about what they're talking about, what they're shilling essentially, because they just want to get their fee. I think the strategy needs to be about having the right kind of voice talk about the project. And I think that making sure that you, the community, are the ones that are receiving those incentives versus just these influencers. But we will continue to use call groups because I think that those are fairly effective. People are looking for alpha in those groups, and I think that those tend to be fairly effective at just the kinds of investors that we're going after. And then when it comes to the marketplace, it's about increasing exposure in general. And to Decisive Vescu's point, Julia actually is working on getting us to do some additional Twitter spaces with some other founders or some other projects that are fairly aligned with what we're doing. So that's a great suggestion, and it's absolutely something that we're already doing. I think that's most of it. So, okay, just to recap, the next steps are going to be we will launch this poll today on Telegram, on Twitter. We'll pin it in both places. We'll probably remind everybody a couple times every day. And in 1 week's time, next Friday, we'll have another one of these where we discuss the results of it, what our next steps are going to be, as well as debut some additional content. So, again, rest assured, and I'll be announcing some of the partnerships. More specifically, we've been ironing out the terms with some of these folks because essentially so much of what we're doing is kind of consignment. Like in the real world, that's kind of what it is. You give your item to a seller, that seller sells, they take a piece. So the consignment agreements, we're working on that to formalize the relationships. And I'll be able to release some of those partners very shortly. And Akshay has done an incredible job at summarizing much of what we're talking about. And again, if you guys, any recommendations that people that you like, people that you feel, influencers or groups that have real engagement that you like, that you trust, that's what we want to hear. Because the people that approach us, they're just trying to make money. I think I hear Frankie talking.
Hey, Paul. Hey, yes. Hey, I just, man, like you guys are warrior, like through the up and down, you hang in there and you keep fighting. I just wanna tell you that, like, the direction that you and Nick are going with Julia is amazing. I love the video. That video really describe us, and like this path that you guys are going, that like promoting it on YouTube, and then like hyper targeting, like audience that actually
Hmm.
care about us, and not just spamming, giving free money to influencer, where
Yeah.
most of their viewers is just trying to get a quick flip. They don't really care about the project. the It's a really great direction, because like at this point right now, when you guys changing this type of direction, I'm like all hand on deck on your project, because I seen that, like, because like we already, yeah, a lot of the influencer that we like it. I see that the sale doesn't change much, like, so we, like, giving them, spending the money on like just targeting like actual audience is a great way to handle this. Secondly, Paul, like like the staking,
Hmm.
I really want you guys to like to focus on security, because like at the moment right now, most of the project that I'm in, and I'm like have a lot of problem with, like so the less, like, I learned a lot from your project, right? Because like we had a flash loan, and one of the project I was in, they had a flash loan. It was crazy. It was the same thing. There was like a contract, like in the contract there was a burning code that, like, they also use that burning code and use the flash loan attack. And yeah, but they recovered it, and I got some input into them, because like I learned it from your project, and so I talked to them about that too, so they got some good insight about that. So, but yeah, like I just want to hop in and say thank you for for working hard. I do think this is like like once the bull run come back, this is going to be an amazing project, and people who aren't in right now is going to be missing out, because, and I think I bought a couple, I bought a lot more into my wallet, like into the vault. Like I bought a lot more, invested in more, because I really love this, you know what I mean? Because like like you said, like before, when you talk to me, like the money will come once the product is done. Like that's it. Like,
Hmm.
and I think you have a really good edge right now, because other than Amazon, or other than like like eBay for collection, there's no other project that is doing real life NFT um as a market for people for sale. Like, just that fact, your project is gonna blow up. It's just that, like, are you gonna be the first project that's gonna step up and do it properly? Because I believe if a lot of project, if once the bull run come back, this you're gonna have a lot of competitors. So it's in a way, it's kind of it makes sense for you to do it right now, while nobody is really, like, looking at you, but like, and then like capitalize that before the bull run come back.
I
But yeah,
agree.
thank you, Paul, and thank you, Nick, and thank you, Julia, for continuing to push this project ahead. I'm loving everything you guys have done. I saw the video; it was an amazing video. Yeah, and yeah, I do believe like this direction that you are going will get us to where we are. And by the way, Paul, are we still going to be launching on CX this end of the year?
You know, it's funny. I get maybe three, four people contacting me every day to go on centralized exchanges. You know, it's something that I'm exploring. What it comes down to is, some of them might be in this chat right now, is that I'm not paying a crazy fee to launch on your centralized exchange. I anticipate that we're gonna have real. Look, the first day that we launched, we had so much volume, and I know they want those fees. So I'm not gonna pay some crazy fee to launch on your centralized exchange. Some of them I know. We made some contacts, with some centralized exchanges that are very interested in our project, and they are anticipating, when we launch. Some of them want us to launch on a centralized exchange as opposed to a as opposed to a DEX. They want us to do an IEO, but I think that yes, I think that that's something that we're absolutely looking at. And I think that it may be part of the launch strategy where, if we do launch in a couple places, there is additional liquidity across multiple markets. It may help us not have to have, over $1 million because and also the exposure, but it's really about having the right exchanges be those partners because there are some really small ones that I've never heard of, and then I look and I see their volume and they're real. But again, I'm not saying we're going to be on Binance, but I do want to see us on exchanges that will, one, promote us, and it'll be worthwhile because it's really about making sure that there is accessibility to CollectCoin across multiple markets that people from around the world are able to access it. So I'm excited about that, and I would say yes. I'll continue to provide updates though when it comes to that. And if there very well may be a poll at some point where we're talking to a few different ones, and we'll ask the community, what do you guys think? Who do you like? Because I think the community's opinion has always been very important, and even when what you guys are saying is not so nice, we still listen. So with that, I would say if there's one more person that has any kind of questions, I would love to hear it.
Paul, I one last question.
Yeah.
I remember when you say when we launch at like a lower liquidity, people can take the can like put in their money, and like I didn't understand that much, but there was a reason why we didn't launch at a lower liquidity. So that problem isn't going to be a problem if everybody decided that they want you to launch it at a lower liquidity, because I think like launching it at like a lower liquidity is fine. Like for me itself, I bought some at 25 30 cent before, and even if you relaunch right now at like 15 cent or 10 cent or whatever, like I wouldn't even like it wouldn't even matter, right? Because I would just let the market dictate how much value we are worth. This like I mean it's good on you for like it's really good on you to relaunch at like the same exact price that like our token when it was hacked. But if we cannot do that, then I think relaunching at a lower liquidity is fine. But as long as we are safe, like because like you said, we don't want any more mishap that's gonna happen.
I agree 100%.
And
that
one
I'm sorry?
question also. One question
Sure.
also.
Yes, quick chain.
Okay, and I support what this and the president just said just now, because we can't keep waiting for like to. You have tried a lot. You work hard. You do your best, possible best every time. You are keeping pushing hard. Everybody know you have put in your best. You are every time you are doing the best, but at least. I support what this person says. So that's just what I want to add.
Thank you. I appreciate the support. And again, when we launch, people will buy, people will sell. But what we want to do is to illustrate that we are a team trying to build something meaningful, and this is the kind of project that you want to invest into. Because the reality is, we know that, look, this is not a bull market right now, and a lot of these NFT projects, a lot of these other projects are going to dust. They're going to zero. We are not going to zero. If we were going to go to zero, we would have already gone to zero. But we stuck around, we kept fighting, we kept building, and we will continue to do so. So resiliency is not something that we lack. There's a lot of heart in this team. And as I mentioned before, I think we're up to like 13 people right now, plus the moderators. And we've been able to stay fairly lean in doing this because, keeping costs under control and everything is very important. But I'm telling you, we are very agile. And, when you guys see the marketplace, and if you haven't seen anything yet, check out the previous preview. And if you want to participate in the beta, contact one of the moderators, because the form is closed. But if you contact them, I can add you to kind of a report that I have. I've just been going down. You have to have CLCT, or you have to have invested at some point, because look, if you don't have a vested interest in this, unfortunately, your opinion is not that important to us right now. But to our investors, we care about you. We hear you. We're listening to you, and we will build this together.
Yeah, Paul. No, I mean, stay strong, brother. Because I mean, there's a lot of project that is lesser than there's that have no value, and then there's still people thinking that like this project is gonna be their end goal. That's why I really love your project because of your leadership. Your
Thank you.
leadership is amazing. Because I mean, this project, once I said, once you launch, once the market is done and people start selling on there, we gonna be the next big thing. I truly believe it because I mean there's token, people are making token that have zero value, luring other people in for high interest rate that and then they
We
get
see it
cracked,
every day.
and they still hardening onto it. Why we're doing something that real life, real actionable thing that people can use this use case in our project. So I don't think we're going anywhere. And like you said, if you were gonna go anywhere, you've been gone while that when the hack happened. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You wouldn't be staying this long and it's hard, man. Once you there's a lot of projects that have flash loan attack, they just get wiped out and they're gone. That's it. There's no second chance for investor. But for your project, even though all this delay, there is a reason for it. People gotta understand there's a reason why there's all this delay, because you don't want any mishap going on. And then you yourself as a leader, you are very careful, very calculated. You don't want to just do it because you have to do, you just have to do it like that. You don't just throw thing around. You calculate, for, because that's why I really like you as a leader, and you're so resilient. That's the thing. As a leader, you are the one guy that's super resilient. No matter anything that get thrown towards you, you will keep fighting. You keep moving forward. And Paul, please just no,
He's not
don't
hired, just so you know.
don't even care about anybody who's trash talking your project in the chat. People, there's a lot of people like me who have thousands of dollars in your project because we believe in your use case and utility. Because that's it. I only care about your utility, and if that 1% that that your marketplace is going to be the one and truly marketplace, then yes, oh my God, I will be really, really, really happy.
Yeah,
just want to tell you that.
Just to kind of add a little bit, when we founded this project, we were literally at the center of everything we were trying to do was to help people, right? I mean, when you look at our business model, it's literally helping dealers and buyers, less fees, no fraud. We're just trying to actually, like you said, Frank, you're spot on, create a really good utility with this technology, right? And so just because we've seen a lot of noise with the similar technology not being utilized in the best way. And so I think that's why there is a lot of interest in what we're doing, because people understand the utility.
You know how annoying it is to just have only best eBay and Amazon, and where's there's a ton of people competing with you to try to sell a product. It's so annoying. And then it's like, if you don't sell on those places, where are you gonna sell? And there's so many people on there. And the other thing is because I'm a seller myself. That's why I really love this idea. Even if you building a marketplace, I'm not an investor. If you making a marketplace so I can go on there and sell my product at the same time, that would be even great as well. And the thing is there's not, because if OpenSea, a market that's just selling fake painting, fake stuff, fake NFT and fake RPG JPEG photo can make it, there's no reason that for you, because I gotta believe there's a lot of people out there with Rolex and Pokemon card collection, and the US are crazy about it, but and those people, they also have crypto. So how are they gonna linking those two pieces together is an amazing idea. So that's why I love what you're doing. So that's why at the end of the day, no matter what, please, guys, continue. don't even just tunnel vision, like Paul said, tunnel vision to the end. That's it. And my money, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna grind to the ground with you guys. Even if my $20,000 goes zero, I get put a bet on you guys until you guys, 2-3 years down the line, I'll be happy too. To keep going down the line.
I appreciate it, Frankie. I really appreciate that support. With that said, I think this is a good point to conclude. Any closing thoughts from Nick and Julia?
No, thanks, Frankie. It was good to hear from you. And thanks for everybody, joining the call today. And hopefully that was really helpful, and we're excited to continue on.
Ditto, Nick. Please share the video with your friends, family, everyone you know. I mean, obviously, word of mouth is the best way to get amplify things, amplify message.
Absolutely. And look out for the additional content. And remember, that poll, we will be releasing it today on Twitter and on Telegram later today, and we will be continuing to promote it. I'll be around in the chat a little bit more throughout the course of this week. And again, if you have questions, you can always tag me. I try to read every single message. I can't respond to all of them. But we have a great team of moderators that if you ever have any questions, ask them. They'll reach out to us. And again, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your patience. And just rest assured that the money that you've invested, the commitment that you've given to us, it does not go in vain. We understand, that this has been challenging. It has been challenging for you. It's been challenging for us. But we rise to the occasion, and we will continue to do so. With that said, thank you all. This was recorded. I will probably be posting it within the next 24 hours. We're gonna kind of have to edit them together because of the kind of the first one ended. But we'll make sure that that's up, so anyone that missed it will be able to see this. And we'll continue to provide updates for everyone. Just rest assured that we are building. We are making progress, and we will out execute any competitor that comes for us. Thank you. Take care, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining. Okay.
Bye.